Hi, and welcome back to Real Talk with Stef. Today on Real Talk with Stef, I wanted to talk a bit more about kids and nutrition. I know I do a few talks in regards to kids, but kids are the future, and because we have an active kids program, I find it really important to share any information that I find or articles and tips and things that relate to children, because I feel it's really important that we nurture them and encourage them to grow. And we're parents, we're mentors, and we want to give them the best chance possible to having the most successful life. So as I said, today is about kids and nutrition and a few tips and tricks. So according to the Australian Medical Association, more children are visiting the GPs with food-related anxiety due to limited habits. So that's really alarming. Remember growing up, you'd go to the doctor because of, broken legs or infections or colds and things like that. But to find out that kids are going to the doctors with food-related anxiety is quite scary, because we would think that in the day and age that we're in, where there's so much information and so much emphasis around healthy eating and the right nutrition and all this sort of stuff, that we would have the tools to give our children. But sometimes there can be so much information and it can be quite confronting and confusing. As parents, you want to make sure you're giving your child the best chance in life in every aspect, but it's very overwhelming. And how do you know what's right and what's wrong? We have an all or nothing mentality as adults, but pushing that onto our children can be really harmful. Example, motivating daily activity with food rewards is not a great example that we want to give to our kids, because we're sort of contradicting ourselves. Exercise, be active, for healthy benefits, but here I'm going to give you a chocolate bar because you did that. Shouldn't be a punishment or a reward. We want to reward our kids with other things, or try and encourage them that, like by getting outside with them and exercising and things like that. As I said, as parents and mentors, how can we encourage better eating habits, teaching moderation, and reminding them that food is fuel and things like that? So I'm going to go into a few tips with you today. Number one, I have said this before in a few other talks that I've done, is getting kids involved in the food preparation. I know, as going grocery shopping, it obviously costs time and money, but you don't want to be spending money on food that your kids aren't going to eat. So trying to, sit down with them throughout the week, finding out what foods they enjoy, what foods they like, and maybe taking them with you to choose better options, or foods that that they're going to eat. So obviously it's going to save you money because they're going to be eating that food, but also, getting them into the kitchen to prepare that food with you, so they can understand what it takes to make healthy meals. And, once they're preparing it, they might obviously they're excited to eat that food. So that would be tip number one. Two is portion control. We need to remember that moderation is key, and that we need to not overload our kids with food on their plates. Kids are a lot tinier than adults. They don't need as much food to keep them full and satisfied. So loading their plates with all this food and then wondering why they're complaining that they're full and can't eat it can be frustrating as a parent. But also, if they're telling us that they're full, and obviously we want to make sure that they're not saying they're full and then they want to have dessert and things like that. But it's about, remembering that they are smaller than us, so we don't need to overload our plates. Teaching them that your plate should be meat, a carb and veggies, and maybe even using a smaller plate, especially like with us in Australia, we have really huge dinner plates. portioning their plate size down is going to sort of help them to not eat as much so that they're sickly full, but also it's just going to teach them portion control. Number 3 is really important. As I sort of mentioned before, we are in a society where we're fixated on healthy eating, healthy options, calories in, calories out, our weight, diets, this new diet, this fad diet, shakes, fasting, ketos. I don't even know, there's so many different diets and different health tricks and tips out there. As an adult, we have our own goals, and it might be a weight loss goal. But remember that our kids are sponges. They are watching us even when we don't think they're watching us. They're listening to us when they shouldn't be listening to us. And if we're fixated on the weight on the scales, our diet, not eating this because it's a bad food, they're going to learn from us. Where they look up to us, we're their teachers. So if that's what we're always focusing on, we are going to teach those habits to children. It's very scary that a lot of teenagers now are going through eating disorders or worrying about their weight and things like that. But we need to remember, where are they getting this from? Yes, there's social media and TV and things like that. But if we are at home and always complaining about things that we don't like about ourselves, about our bodies, about, oh, I've exercised today, but I haven't lost any weight, or whatever it is that we say without even thinking, they're watching us. So we need to really remember that if we want our kids to lead a healthy life, but also a positive one, and have a positive image of themselves and not be judgmental on themselves, that we need to also take on board that and not do it as much or around them. Because I don't think as parents we would want to instill those judgmental things that we might think about ourselves, or those things that we're fixated on to our kids. If you've exercised, well then, that's exciting, that's great. If you've eaten really healthy today, well then that's awesome. But just, try and focus on the positives around them, and just, encourage them to be happy and healthy, I suppose, is the main point. So that was just going on a few little tips in regards to nutrition and trying to get our kids away from those anxiety feelings with eating habits, and hopefully away from the GP. If you would like any more information on any topics that I talk about, feel free to reach out. I would love to have a chat with you. But that was Real Talk today with Stef.